Your wheeling, no two ways about it, continues on the Watchdog.
All right, welcome back. You're listening to AM 1600. This is Your Wheeling, no two ways about it. I am not Glenn Elliott. I'm your co-host today, Ty Thorngate. With me, we have the real host, Vice Mayor Chad Thalman. We have a very special guest today from Ogilby, Rod Haley. How you doing today, Rod?
Great. Thanks for having me in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming.
Rod, I wanted you to come on and talk a little bit about, just give a recap of this past weekend, Ogilby Fest. I was up there. The weather was great. Seemed like a great crowd, very successful event. Just wanted you to talk a little bit about that and a little bit about some of the things you have coming up over the next several months at Ogilby.
Absolutely. Again, thanks for having me in. Look forward to spending some time with you guys. Oktoberfest, Ogilby Fest was, just a phenomenal this year. The weather kicking off on Friday all the way through Saturday was just absolutely beautiful and perfect. So we couldn't have asked for any better. A little rain on Sunday, but, we dealt with that. Crowds were very good. We have a partnership with the Extension Agency for the Site One for the Ohio County Fair, and then, of course, we work with Ogilby Institute, and they kind of do the Mansion Woods and the Artist Market, and then we take, the rest of the park, the Rathskeller and some of that. But nonstop entertainment, nonstop food around the parks. And, I would say we had some pretty strong numbers this weekend and some pretty large crowds. Everything it's great to see everybody out and enjoying themselves and spread out through all of our property and just enjoying themselves and, no problems. And that's what we really, really like. We started this, back in 1978.
So what is this? I was going to ask you, what year is this for you? How many Ogilby Fest is this?
So I'm going to have to get out my calculator, but, we started in 1978, which was the 50th anniversary of the Wheeling Park Commission and Ogilby, the gift and, truly the kickoff of Ogilby as a thank you to the city of Wheeling.
So that's how it all started.
Yeah.
The 50th anniversary.
So it started in 1978. So, I think officially this is our 44th year, but if you really want to, with last year being on hold and called off, it may have been our 43rd. But we're going to stick with it was our 44th annual Ogilby Fest because we still did some things last year, even though the official festival was canceled. So.
And Rod, I would think this is one of those events that brings a lot of people to the park, whether it be people staying in the hotels, cabins. I was up at a cabin with a group of friends. It seemed to be that the entire park was just full of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the cabins, cottages are always popular for local as well as out of town. I would say Ogilby Fest, as well as like Thanksgiving and your normal holidays, is more local than it is, your traditional out-of-town guesting in the cottages. Because a lot of families, we have families that have been staying in the cottages for Ogilby Fest all 44 years.
Right.
And that's just a tradition there. So all the cottages are absolutely sold out. The lodge runs a really high occupancy. It's one of our better weekends of occupancy. And again, it's really surprising. I actually stay there for the weekend and just so I'm around all the time. And you see the same faces that you see every year. And there's a lot of, Wheeling folks that are staying at the lodge and enjoying the lodge as well as all the festivities. But then you also have the folks that all drive in and just take advantage of the entertainment and the food and all those things. We did a little bit different this year as everybody, and we won't get into it. But, staffing's a challenge just for all of us.
Right.
And so we changed up how we did it a little bit. So we brought in more food trucks than we normally did. And it really worked out really well. And people really enjoyed it. So we had, some food trucks sprinkled out throughout the property.
What's nice about that is you get to space the food out. So it's not just in one location. Wherever you're out in the park, you have the ability to do some type of food, beverage.
And a good variety. Of course, we did the Rathskeller and, with your German-themed foods. And, of course, we have our, revenue outlets, the Ehlenfeld and the Glassworks. But, sprinkling in some barbecue and some, just a whole bunch of hibachi and just a whole mixture of things. It gave you a great variety.
And Rod, on the topic of food trucks, you guys are going to have a food truck festival coming up?
We are. Next Saturday, the 16th. This will be the first time we've tried this. We're going to do it down in Levinston Shelter, Site 1 area. And we're going to have just food trucks and bands all day long. We'll start at 11 in the morning and go till 10 at night. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's something we're, going to try right now. It looks like the football games are off weekends, and so people will be looking for stuff to do, but certainly come out and give it a try. We've got some great entertainment lined up.
Well, I think it's nice, too, just in terms of having a kid that, so now I get to go to Boo at the Zoo. I get to experience that, but there's something to do either before or after that. That's going to be right down the road.
And that's a kickoff of that, and I'm glad you brought into that because Boo at the Zoo is a huge event for us, and it's one of the biggest fundraisers for the Good Zoo. So it's very important to us. But we kicked that off Ogilvy Fest weekend, and it's the first time we've ever had Ogilvy Fest and Boo at the Zoo at the same time. And of course, it was interesting for the staff, but the guests really liked it. And it was an interesting combination this weekend, and we had good attendance for it. And again, but the weather was perfect for it.
Right.
We're in the studio with Rod Haley from Ogilvy Park. If you have any comments or questions for Rod or anything involving all things the city of Wheeling for Councilman Thorngate or me, feel free to call 304-214-1600. Rod, we were also talking about the colleges. Over the years, Ogilvy has invested a lot to fix up some of those colleges. I think you probably have a few more you're going to be investing in over the next several years. But what all have you done in the colleges over the years? Because I've seen some of them that are just really absolutely incredible. A lot of investments put into those colleges that I think a lot of people don't realize unless you're actually staying at one.
Yeah. Well, we have a total of 54 cottages, so it's a long process, anything from 2-bedroom all the way up to 8-bedroom. But we're trying to get in, our goal is to get into all of them within the next few years. We've gotten into about 30 of them right now, and we're doing a pretty major renovation, as far as furniture and decor and wall coverings and flooring and things like that, just to really bring them up to today's standards.
Coming up also, another big event that I can remember going to as a kid, Boo at the Zoo. That's another thing that I think probably brings a lot of people to the park. Very enjoyable for families to attend that. I remember I have fond memories going there. I think I was probably going there almost until I was in high school, probably, having a good time. But Boo at the Zoo, how many people do you typically get, or what's that event all entail?
So it's actually, it's changed and developed over the years. Last year with COVID, we decided to start doing it a little more in earlier hours versus evening hours. So we've expanded the hours, and it really worked out really well, and we continued that with this year. So it's open Friday through Sunday, every weekend in October, starting last weekend at Ogilvy Fest. It runs, basically 11 to 8, I believe it is. And I'll tell you, it's really neat. Of course, I can remember taking my kids there when they were little, and they're now adults, and I got to take my granddaughter this weekend. And just seeing, the folks that go to it, even if you don't have kids, just to go and enjoy it. And Dr. Joe Greathouse and his team and a lot of volunteers from the city play a part in the decorations. And it really transforms the zoo. There's just a lot of decorations and fun things to do.
Okay, I think we have a caller on the line.
Yes, we do. This is Madison, but she's calling about the sidewalks, and I thought if you could spend like a minute or so explaining to her.
We'll do our best.
At Ogilvy or?
Okay.
No, I think it's a Wheeling thing we were talking about
Go
last
ahead,
segment.
Madison.
Hi, again, my name is Madison. I was listening to Howard's show yesterday, and I just wanted to touch base and see what was going on with the sidewalks.
So in the city of Wheeling, I should say in the state of West Virginia, sidewalks are the responsibility of the property owner. I think there's some states where sidewalks are the responsibility of the municipality. That's not the case in West Virginia. The city of Wheeling does have some ordinances that basically dictate that you have to maintain your sidewalk, and it basically explains what an out-of-compliance sidewalk is. So whether that's a certain percentage of the sidewalk that's cracked or spalling, or if you have like a lip, that's more than a half an inch or an inch or whatever the standards are, those sidewalks are considered to be out of compliance, and the property owner is responsible to fix those. I believe there's an ordinance, there's several ordinances that are several decades old that are on the books here in the city of Wheeling that explain all that, and I believe the penalty for having an out of compliance sidewalk is $500. For whatever reason, this really hasn't been enforced in the last 20 or so years here in the city of Wheeling, so we have sidewalks, almost entire neighborhoods that just have really poor sidewalks. So this is something that's kind of a passion of mine, something that I know other members of city council, want to move forward on, want to figure out a way to get our sidewalks fixed up here in the city of Wheeling. It's a big undertaking. It's something we've been discussing for about 15, 16 months now. I think these conversations really got moving around June of 2020 when the new city council was elected. But, I appreciate your call. It's something we're going to hopefully move forward with, something we can hopefully make a dent into, figure out a way to get these sidewalks back up and put in decent shape. And I think everyone on city council, or at least the majority of us on city council, we've all seen parents, grandparents, pushing strollers down the middle of the street because the sidewalks are in such poor condition. In Warwood, I see, older individuals driving the motorized carts through the alleys because the sidewalks are in such poor condition. So to me, this is completely unacceptable. Our residents deserve better, and we plan on moving forward, hopefully, with some sort of a program where we can start to get these sidewalks taken care of. But I appreciate your call.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think it's so important. I really hope it happens soon. I personally, as a new mother, I know that I tripped and fell pushing a stroller, so this is something very near and dear to my heart. And I just really hope it happens soon. I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks,
absolutely.
Madison.
Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
Rod, back to Ogilvy, I think one of the other big things that you guys have going on is the Festival of Lights. This is something that, I had some friends from out of town that came in. One of my buddies came in from Pittsburgh. I had another friend that came in from around Salem, Ohio, which I think is about an hour and a half away, and they were staying up at a cabin. But they've all heard of Festival of Lights. They said, hey, isn't this the place where the Festival of Lights are? I think when I was a kid, my parents brought me here once. The Festival of Lights, it's for us that grew up here in Wheeling and live in Wheeling, I think we almost overlook it.
Yeah, an afterthought.
And we just get used to it. Maybe we get a little annoyed with the traffic. But this is something that is really something special that people come from all over to see.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Festival Lights, again, started back in 1985, so it's been around for a very long time. And it's very important to Ogilvy, but it's also very important to the whole entire city of Wheeling. I mean, the amount of revenue and people that it drives in from out of town, I would say our typical market's about a 3-hour radius, but there's people that do come from further than that. And you're right, we forget about it locally, what we have special and how important that the show is. And yeah, we kick that off and shortly here, beginning of November. I think Light Up Night's November 4th, and that'll run through the beginning of January. And everybody knows, for the city of Wheeling, if you want to avoid the traffic, the 3 Saturdays between Thanksgiving and Christmas, you just know that it's going to be busy and what's going to happen, and you just need to plan accordingly. We would really like to be able to find a way to keep the traffic moving and not get those backups. And we try to, promote weekdays and things like that. We certainly don't want to discourage for anybody from coming, but it's just almost a known fact that those 3 Saturdays are going to be busy and traffic issues. But it means a lot to us. It really brings a lot of guests, into the lodge, into the cottages, through the gate. But equally as important, just looking at all the local restaurants and gas stations and other hotels as well that benefit from it. So it's very important for all of our economy.
Rod, do you see a lot of people, because I know Thanksgiving surprised me, that a lot of people do Thanksgiving just eating at Elenfeld or whatnot, but what about Christmas?
Yeah, Christmas is also a big one. I mean, as far as the cottages, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and, the holidays are always huge, and, there's a waiting list to get the cottages and things like that. But as far as, like, dining, Thanksgiving is certainly our biggest event. We'll do, close to 1,000 covers. But Christmas is fairly large as well. I mean, a lot of families now like to just go out as a family and sit down and enjoy their meal and not have to worry about cooking, cleaning, and all that. So
did you do meals to go last year as well?
We did.
Just because of COVID?
Yeah, we've tried that. And we also do like meals delivered to the cottages. And because just because you have a cottage doesn't mean that you want to cook and all that. Some do and some don't. So we try to, accommodate everybody we can.
It's an interesting concept, just the idea of bringing a Christmas tree up, decorating with the family, and spending Christmas at Ogilvy. It's something I'd like to try at some point.
I'll tell you, I've worked for Ogilvy for my entire life, literally. I started when I was 12 years old, and we get a cabin every year for Thanksgiving, and I'm very fortunate. My family's all from Wheeling, but we all pile into that cabin Wednesday through Sunday, and it's just, you forget where you're at and that you're kind of there and enjoying it and spending family time together, and you're on vacation.
I mean, to me, that's, and I get to interact with it every day at work, but the thing that I find that's so magical about Ogilvy is that when you were talking about all these events, and while we're bringing people from out of the area who's taking advantage of the cabins and whatnot, our local families, that you create memories forever, right? I mean, you've worked there since you've been 12 years old, but your grandkids are going to go, and I guarantee that tradition keeps on because the Morgan family, it was 50 years they've been coming and staying at cabins and whatnot. It's just that's what's so magical, and I think it means so much to Ogilvy, to people, is those experiences you get to have your entire life with your family.
Yeah. And we continue to try to look at what people want and what their desires are, and how do we accommodate. We've got everything from the walking trails to all the gardens, and so there's plenty of things that you can do with no charges at all. Come grab a blanket and sit out on a picnic and have a picnic and things like that. And then, we also have the things that generate some revenues to help us to do the things that are,
right.
There's no charge, the playgrounds and all that. But we're always open to hear ideas and suggestions of, what people would like to see. What next?
Is there anything on the horizon that you think that people want to see that Ogilvy's going to move forward with that you can reveal now, or?
There's really nothing very specific. We're going to continue working on, deferred maintenance and improving the historic buildings and the cottages and we are going to be doing a renovation at the lodge in our Klein Wing, which is, our second oldest wing in the hotel. Those things need to be done, have to be done. They're exciting to see that change. But as far as new venues, we're constantly looking at new food options. Over the years, we've added the bistro, we've added the barbecue. We did some things down at the Christmas, so we're looking at food things. We're always looking at new activities. This year, I know it's silly, but we added a rock wall, and that was really popular this summer. Going from the traditional paddle boats to the swan boats. But we're always looking at what else can we do that maybe somebody's not else doing right around this area. So we're really, taking a look at some of the buildings we have and what else can we do with them.
One thing that's picked up, I'd say, for you guys over the last couple of years, has just been programming.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll be hard-pressed throughout the summer that you can't find there's live music or something happening in Ogilvy like 5 or 6 days a week.
Yeah, and we do. We do live music Memorial Day to Labor Day, like you said, 5-6 days a week, and we spread that out through the parks, both Ogilvy and Wheeling Park. And then, even, like you said, programming. We do drive-in movies. We do, just all kind of programming that it's open to the public. Come and enjoy yourself. If you don't want to, buy anything, you don't have to. Just sit and listen to the music.
That's all you have to do, and enjoy the beauty of the park.
Yeah.
Rod, you mentioned the Klein Wing, so for our listeners that aren't familiar with that, what part of the lodge is the Klein Wing, and what all is going to be done there?
Okay, so that wing is our second oldest of the wing, and basically we're just going to do a rehab of, the furnishings and the wall coverings and just bring it up to a little bit more of modern standards for hotel standards. We were very fortunate last year or a couple years ago to do the West Wing. It was a little more extensive because the size of the rooms, that was the original wing. And we were very fortunate to have, the West family help us with that. And we were able to convert all those. We actually made the rooms bigger by taking 3 rooms and 2. So it won't be as that extensive, but we're just trying to, move it up to the future.
And Rod, while I got you here, I want to mention, and Councilman Thorngate and I, there was a Municipal League conference in August. West Virginia Municipal League is basically a league of all the cities and towns in the state. We get together twice a year to kind of talk policy and stuff like that. Once a year we're down in Charleston when the legislature's in session. But that summer conference rotates between various cities. I think it was in August, several months ago, we had I think it was beginning of August and in July is when we normally do the Municipal League conference. But there was, I want to say, 400 mayors, members of council from all over the state of West Virginia came up to Ogilvy. I think a lot of them had never been to Ogilvy before, so they were actually blown away that we have a park like this, right here in the city of Wheeling. And even some of the people that have been to Ogilvy before, they commented on just the improvements that have been made in the last few years at Ogilvy, how much better things look. So I think everyone was really impressed, Councilman, with that conference.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't hear a bad thing. Like you said, I believe Wheeling had this conference in 2015. And they said the improvements that were made on the park between 15 and today, night and day. Like I said, I didn't hear a single bad thing. If anything, people said, let's bring this back next year.
Yeah, we love hosting events like that where we're able to really show off not just Ogilvy, but the entire city of Wheeling and what we have to offer. And yeah, we've been very fortunate. We've done a lot of renovations. You take the bad with the good with COVID, but with the downturn and group business and needing of the meeting space and all that last year, we took advantage of that. And we've now renovated all of our meeting space in entirety in the lodge.
I mean, that's new carpet, new walls, new audio,
visual, and everything. So we've been very fortunate to take that opportunity to do that, and it does. It really transformed the place. It really looks a lot different.
Rod, I think the hospitality industry, any hotel or anything that's involved with travel probably really suffered during COVID. Are you guys back to normal to where you were pre-COVID, or what's the trends? What have you seen there?
I don't think we'll ever be back to, and I don't know how to even define normal, so I don't think we'll ever be back to pre-COVID. We were very fortunate because of we have a good combination of group as well as transient, so that's your vacationers. Of course, group just went away completely during COVID, but transient, it stayed okay for us, and we were able to build off of that and fill in some of our gaps. So we have been very fortunate, and we're starting to see some of the group build back up, and we're getting back into that. We have a very strong weddings department, so we do a lot of weddings and different things. So I don't know that we'll ever be back to a normal, but we certainly are trying our best to do everything we can to be there for our guests and make it as memorable as we can and as safely as we can at the same time.
And you know, Rod, I think any of us that are from Wheeling have probably attended a few weddings that have been up at Ogilvy. They're always, you know, I think well done. But how far in advance, if there's anyone out there that might be thinking about doing a wedding or a reception at Ogilvy, how far in advance do people typically have to, you know, reserve a room, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you have a specific date and a specific dream, you're going to need to do that a couple years in advance. I mean, if you're okay with a little bit less and more flexible, we book weddings even a year out or 16 months out. But the further out you know what you want, the better we can make the accommodations for you.
All right, Rod from Ogilvy, thanks for coming in.
Man. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, you've been listening to Your Wheeling, No Two Ways About It. Olivia and Son, you're up next. Stay tuned into the Watchdog.